And then how big would the bear be sitting in an airline row? This is just high quality journalism, and I applaud it. So again, going back to that, did they pay off the headline? Absolutely, they paid off the headline. So big fan of what the Post is doing on the animal front. Going back to one, yeah, I wrote this. Bless is of course like a bit of internet lingo. This article is from quite a while ago now, 2018. But I remember that my first headlines for the story, it was just about a simple thing where a designer was like, I want to figure out what font every logo uses. If you're a font dork and design dork, like this is a really fun story. But what I loved about it is I could have just done here are 27 logos showing the font that they were made from. Okay, yeah, that works. But what I loved about this story is that one designer made this their personal mission. And so I just like instinctively, the way I when I forced myself to rewrite the headline to be a little more interesting, I just defaulted to bless this designer for remaking famous logos to teach us which fonts they use. And it just like, because I really appreciate that as a reader, as someone who found that project, I was like, really love that this person took the time to do that. So I made that the focus and tried to keep it conversational. I could have 100 slides in this. This is my favorite category, but I'll keep it slim. It's just don't mince words. What I mean by that is like, it's really natural to not just say what needs to be said or what the article is really trying to say, and instead to like put all this padding around it to try to like, unless you've like, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you've written headlines, you've had to create content. And so you may know this challenge, but I think a lot of people outside of it may not, which is that it's scary when a headline is too good. Like part of you is just like almost worried that too many people will read it. It's a hard thing to describe because it sounds so counterintuitive, but it is really possible to be like, if I make that headline that good, like that compelling, it might get too big and I might hear, and you got to just fight as long as it's accurate. Again, as long as it's not clickbait and that's you're selling an accurate headline, you got to just fight down that fear. And I doubt I'm even like really expressing it well. Let me know in the comments if you have any idea what I'm talking about, but like, it is just sometimes you just fly too close to the sun on some of these and you're just like, is that okay? But if that is what the article is, great. So say what needs to be said. We did a lot of things about logo redesigns at Adweek, and this was a roundup of one of the batches. There's just 5 brand logo redesigns that pissed people off. Like we could have packaged it in a million different ways, but the reality is just like, yeah, these are the ones that everyone hated. And instead of like, 5 examples of when brands attempted to blah, 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 but instead found a negative reaction. Like, no, it just pissed people off. Just say it. One of my favorite articles I ever got to write, bless what a great job this was. A brief history of sexy Colonel Sanders. Whiting Kennedy and KFC had done a whole range of what I would describe as the sexy Colonel Sanders oeuvre, and it all kind of tipped over. Like it seemed to kind of come into the public zeitgeist at one time, but they had actually been doing this for quite a while, and only like advertising nerds like me had really been paying attention to it. And so I did a deep dive into why is this old white guy in glasses, like, why is he a sex symbol who's been dead for years? And in the end, like this, I think was the first headline I ever wrote on it. And then I tried writing a bunch of different ones that really convey the answers, the reasons. Why is it? And in the end, you either care about a brief history of sexy Colonel Sanders or you don't. There's no, like, I could dress it up in a million different ways, but in the end, it felt like just play it straight. And yeah, it was a big hit. People love the story. And so when in doubt, I always just found that if you just roll the ball right down the middle and just say what you're trying to say, that's a really good starting point. Then you can decide, is this boring? But chances are, if the article's good, if the art's good, if the content is good, and you can just be straightforward about here it is and here's what it does.